Alright, so this is on lesson 12 practice. So for the homework. So in this question, it says she collected 2,400 grams of pennies in a fundraiser. It tells us how much each penny had. And so we have to go through and figure out how to get from here down to here. Now, there's many different ways to approach this. Okay? Because we just got to get from 2.5 to 2,400. Now, see, for me personally, one of the first things I would do is get rid of the decimal. And so I would do times 10, because that would make 2.5 25. And so I times 10. 1 times 10 is 10. Now, again, I need to get from here to 2,400. Well, I know that 25 times 4 is 100. So I would multiply by 4 and get 100. And so times 4, that gives me 40. Well, from here, I know that if I do this times 20, that's going to be 2,000. Because that's 3 zeros, and 2 times 1 is 2. So 2,000. So I multiply by 20. Well, that's 0, 0, and 2 times 4 is 800. Well, I've got 2,400. I've got my 2,000 there. Well, I'm going to go from this 100. So to go from this 100 to here, I'm going to multiply by 4. So 100 times 4 is 400. So 40 times 4 is 160. Now, if I add 2,000 plus 400, I get 2,400. And so I can combine these two to get 2,400. So I combine those two. So 800, whoops, I shouldn't be on my highlighter. So 800 plus 160 is 960. So how much money did Priya raise? Well, that's 960 pennies. So in money, that's $9.60. Wrong thing. And so then we go on to the next one. Kieran reads 5 pages in 20 minutes. He spends the same amount of time per page. How long will it take him to read 11 pages? Well, to get from 5 to 1, we divided by 5. So we divide by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Well, to get from 1 to 11, we multiply by 11. So we do 4 times 11. And we get 44. And so, how long will it take him to read 11 pages? 44 minutes. Okay, so we're finding out how much for one and then multiplying to what we need. So they're making personal pizzas. So how much per pizza? So for one pizza. So this is 4 pizzas. So to find out how much for one, we divide by 4. Well, 4 divided by 4 is 1, as I write a 4. So I divide by 4 here. Well, 10 divided by 4. 4 goes into 10 2 times, with 2 left over. So I put my decimal. Bring down that 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So that's 2.5. So how much cheese does my use for each pizza? 2.5 ounces. How much cheese will they need to make 15 pizzas? So I multiply by 15. And so I multiply by 15. So 2.5 times 15. Well, 5 times 5 is 5. Carry the 2. 10 and 2 is 12. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. So that's 5, 7, 3, 1 decimal place. So 37.5 ounces. Claire's paid $90 for 5 hours of work. At this rate, how many seconds does it take her to earn 25 cents? Now, this is a very long, complicated problem. And so I'm sorry, it's going to take a while. Because we have to change hours to minutes. And then we have to change minutes to seconds. Now, the simplest way to do this is we know that it's $90 for 5 hours. So 90 divided by 5. Well, 90 divided by 5 is $18 per hour. So that's $18 for 1 hour. Well, so now I've got 1 hour. So instead of doing 5 hours times 60 minutes times 60 seconds, well, I know that in 1 hour there are 60 minutes. So that means when I change to minutes now, instead of doing 60 times 5 and having 300 minutes and doing 90 divided by 300, I've got $18 divided by 60 minutes. Okay. Well, I can do 18 divided by 60, or I can come off to the side and I can say, I can do 18 divided by 60. Well, it doesn't go into 18, but it does go into 180. Well, 6 goes into 18 3 times, so 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. So that's 0.3. So that means, erase, because I don't know what I was making there. So that means it's $0.30 for 1 minute. Well, now I got to change it to seconds. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So I'm making Claire is making $0.30 30 cents for 60 seconds. And so we do, again, I'm going to come off to the side, and I'm going to do apparently I was a little too far off to the side. 60 goes into 0.30, and we see how much that goes. Well, 60 goes into 0 times. 60 goes into 3 0 times. 60 goes into 30 0 times. 60 goes into 300 5 times. And so 0.005 per second. And so since the question is asking how long will it take to earn 25 seconds? Well, that's for 1 second. That's a half a penny for 1 second. So after 2 seconds, they've made 1 cent. Well, we want 25 cents. So times 25 is 25 cents. So 2 times 25 is 50. So 50 seconds. That's how long it will take them to earn a quarter. That's how long it'll take to earn 25 cents. Now, if we take a look at question 5, a car that travels 20 miles in half an hour at a constant speed is traveling the same speed as a car that travels 30 miles in 3/4 of an hour at a constant speed. Explain or show why. Well, $20 times 1/2 is 10. 30 times 3/4 is 90/4, which is 4 goes into there, 20, 2.5. Miles in half an hour. So let's see. All right, so I'm sorry, I set that up wrong. That is my fault, and I apologize. It's not as, that was a bad thing to do. You don't just multiply everything. Okay, so that's exactly what you don't do. Okay, so let's switch it to miles an hour. So if this is half an hour, that's 40 miles in 1 hour. Okay, well, then we've got 30 in 3/4. Well, if I divide this 3/4 divided by 3, that's 1/4. Divide this by 3, I get 10. So that means they do 10 miles in 15 minutes. I wrote miles and I meant minutes. Hello, pen. Well, so that's 20 in 30, 30 in 45, and 40 in 60. So 40 miles in 1 hour. And so there's my explanation. There's my show. Now, for 6, Lynn makes her favorite juice blend by mixing cranberry juice with apple juice in the ratio shown in the double number line. Complete the diagram to show smaller and larger batches that would taste the same as Lynn's favorite blend. So this is a double number line where we have to do skip counting. So it's something something 9, something something, something something 21. Well, we want to count to 9 where we're counting by the same thing. So that's 3, 6. And then since we're counting by 3s, 12 and 15. And then since that's 21, this would be 7 and 14, followed by 28 and 35. Okay. And then for number 7 here, it's asking, each of these is an equivalent ratio. For each pair, explain why they are equivalent ratios or draw a representation that shows why they are equivalent. Okay, so we got 600 and 450 and 60 to 45. Okay, so these are equivalent because 60 times 10 is 600. 45 times 10 is 450. They are multiples of 10. Okay. 60 to 45 and 4 to 3. Well, to get from 4 to 60, you multiply by 15. 3 to 45, you multiply by 15. So 4 times 15 is 60. 3 times 15 is 45. They are multiples of 15. And then 4 to 600, well, 4 goes into 600, 1, 5, 150 times, and that's 150. So they are multiples of 150. And that's it. Sorry, it's a little long, but that's what it takes. Have a good night.